Let's take a look at example 2 for reflections. For this example, we're given our algebraic rule, and we're also given some points in the table, but not all of them. So let's go ahead and transfer the algebraic rule to our table. So we have our rule would be for every x it stays the same, and our y is going to change sign. And so for our first point, we're given 1, 4. So let's focus on the table for a minute. So we're going to keep x the same, and then the y value, we're going to change the sign. So for this point, we get 1, -4 is going to be our image point for A prime. And then for the next pair of points, we have a 0 and a 1, and we need to think of backwards. Like our x stayed the same, so that would still be a 0, and our y value was a negative something to give us this 1 that we had for our y value. So then you have to think of what would make sense right there. So negative 1 would give us the value of that positive 1 that's already there in our table. So now we could fill in the 0 and the -1 that would help us make sense with this row. Now let's look at the next row. It's similar because we're given the range and we have to figure out our domain values. So if we're given 2 and 1, and we know that x stays the same, it had to have been 2 for our pre-image, and then the 1, again, think of what would help us to come up with a positive 1 if we had to change the sign of our y value from the pre-image. So then that would have had to have been a -1, so that a -1 gives us this value of +1 again. And so then we could fill in our table of 2, -1, which would make sense with what we were given. So then I'm just going to clean up this part of my table a little bit so we can take it over here and graph it. And I'm going to add, like I normally do, the A, the B, and the C. And then A prime, let me fix that. A prime, B prime, C prime. Okay, so let's go now to our graph. Usually the table is a great transition to our graph. I don't know why my pen is trying not to cooperate, but we'll keep going. Alright, so first I'm going to put in an x-axis and a y-axis. Let me move that over a little bit. Let's see. We'll just leave it there. Okay, so let's graph triangle ABC, our pre-image. So 1, 4 is point A. 0, -1 is point B, and 2, -1 is point C. And so we have a nice, tall, skinny little triangle here. And now the image graph I'm going to put in green. A prime is at 1, -4, so 1, and then down 4. B prime is at 0, 1, and C prime is at 2, 1. So then I think it helps to look at the graph and see what the reflection is if you don't know already. So we can tell that triangle ABC, the blue triangle, would had to have flipped over the x-axis in order to give us triangle ABC prime, which is in green, our image graph. So going from our table to our graph, we are able to see that we have a reflection over the x-axis. So now let's use that information to write out our description. So we're going to say, given triangle ABC with A1, 4, B0, -1, and C2, -1, reflect triangle ABC over the x-axis. Alright, so that's it for example 2.